No, I think if their primary hang-up is the temperament question, is the can he pass the Oval Office test, can I imagine him behind that desk test, I don't think that he passed it. On the other hand, if there are folks in that bucket, particularly college-educated men, who maybe even think it's socially unacceptable to say, oh, I support Trump, but they're watching this and they're thinking, I'm concerned about my communities. I kind of don't like pushing one for English. I wish there was a wall. And why haven't we done anything about ISIS? You can see, again, with that story that Trump tells about here's the villain, here's the hero, you can see a lot of, I think in particular, college-educated white men seeing this story and seeing their place in it and thinking, even though he seems crazy, maybe I'll go for it.
The reason you don't hear a spirited, strong debate in a forum like last night about the transformation of technological society is that the answers aren't pleasing. They're not very comforting. They require a lot of displacement. They require a lot of difficult choices. They require, in some cases,
realities.
In some cases, I think, to say to Americans, there's nothing to be done for you, but we got to worry about your kids. No politician wants to say that, particularly in an environment where you go and get the news that affirms your worldview, and anything that's said gets distorted, beat up, and used and exploited.
And when people want instant gratification.
34% of regular church-going evangelical white Christians supported Trump in the primaries, Republicans, and now it's 94%, or 90%, sorry, 94% overall for Republicans, 90% for regular church-going white evangelical Christian Republicans.
Which is amazing.
Basically, demographic over demographic, people get less likely to vote and also less likely to vote Clinton if they're voters of color. So that also shifts the math.
It's absolutely true that there are clearly these echo chambers that people are choosing to live in. But I would sort of lift up from that and say that's why I think the advertising is so important for these candidates. Because what they're doing is, instead of just reaching the same people that are already following them, they need to reach the people who are undecided. They need to reach the persuadable voter in X city in Oklahoma. And so what they're able to do is use the tools to really specifically fine-tune.
This idea that it's quite costly for a lot of workers to take time off and get themselves to vote on a Tuesday. Campaigns do a lot to motivate them, to drive them, to give them pizza if they're waiting in line for a while. And we've studied this frequently, and we don't really know the impact of it because there's generally a net impact with two campaigns spending a lot of money. Now, as you point out, even though Trump hasn't been great on collecting data, he can just jump right into some of these companies and do pretty well. But we also know he hasn't been spending. Right. And so it's one thing to have the data. The other thing is that he's not opening up campaign offices at nearly the same rate. And from what some intrepid reporters are showing, there actually are not even people in these campaign offices. And so, number one, it's a great experiment.
He was very aware of the importance of image, even if he knew his pocketbook had many holes in it, that he was able to get the image that he was still a very wealthy man. That is key to understanding Donald Trump, that no matter how bad things are, he wanted the perception out there that he was still doing very well, and eventually switched from the business of just developing buildings to selling his name, becoming a brand, advertising himself. So he is really all about advertising. If you want to study a case study of how advertising and brand can help you survive in the worst of times, then I would recommend to you a book called Trump Revealed, because you will learn a lot about how that happens. You might say, I'm not sure about this person, but if you just felt the one thing you want is just to change the way things are, and that he voices some things that you may believe and don't want to talk about, that's the case for a lot of his supporters. They're not as concerned, perhaps. I don't know if they read books that we write, or the Washington Post, or the fact checkers, but in the end, they are hearing him voice some concerns that they have, and there's a lot of division in the country, and he's been a vessel for addressing a lot of that.